And joining us live now is Headlines Today and Aaj Tak editor at large, Rahul Kanwal. Also with us is renowned sociologist Shiv Vishwanathan. Rahul, I'd like to come to you first. You wrote an elaborate piece for India Today, painting a picture of what lies in store as far as Ashuthosh is concerned in this plunge. First of all, Rahul, was it a surprise for you? You've worked with Ashuthosh as well. Was it a surprise for you when this decision was made? And what is his role likely to be in the Aam Aadmi Party?
Well, this isn't a surprise at all, Shiv, because this is something that Ashuthosh has been considering for several months now. He's been criticized on several occasions, on air and off air, for being exceedingly close to the Aam Aadmi Party, for virtually turning into a cheerleader for the anti-corruption cause. And therefore, it is just as well that he's taken this decision in joining the Aam Aadmi Party full-time, because what you don't want are ideologues masquerading as journalists. If you believe very strongly in a particular cause, it's better to go out and be part of that movement than to pretend that you're still a journalist.
But I'd like to cut across to Shiv Vishwanath at this point of time. Shiv, many journalists have done it in the past. Do you think it works that after this experiment doesn't work, it might be the flavor of the season, to then try and make a comeback? Because somewhere down the line, your credibility is at stake.
Look, I think he's following the logic of his own style of journalism. Deeply and fundamentally, here is a politically sensitive man, here is a professional idealist, and here is someone who had to join politics. He could not be a cheerleader, he could not be a window watcher. He's done what he has to. And with a wager like that, God knows what kind of careers are available for him. I think that's the fascination of this kind of politics. They're celebrities, they're professionals, they're idealists. They have sustained a certain kind of integrity. I have differed with his views on Ashish Nandi publicly, but beyond that, I think these are an interesting set of variants. Professional idealists who to a certain extent knew new challenges to sustain their professionalism and to manage their idealism.
Interesting how you call them professional idealists. Rahul, there have been questions, to several journalists. There are questions being put to journalists on Twitter. Questions are being asked, are being just put out there on social media about the possible political biases of, prominent journalists, journalists who report politics. And these are questions that always existed. But when something like this happens, those questions and the intrigue is likely to intensify, isn't it?
I think it's also time for journalists to be now more upfront about their likes and dislikes, which in decades gone by might never have come to the notice of people outside the charmed circles of Lutyens Delhi. But now, through social media, everyone is constantly monitoring what every journalist is up to, and they know exactly where they stand. I think journalists must, through the body of work that they build, stand for their convictions. If you're prepared to take on the BJP, the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party simultaneously, only then can you hope to emerge as a credible journalist. If you pick sides, if you have favorites, at some point in time, that bias will come through, because unlike earlier, we had just a handful of critics. Now you've got millions of people, each with smartphones, their iPads, who are logged in and are willing to look for every single fault a journalist makes you.
Stay on with us, Rahul. On the phone line with us is senior journalist Veer Sanghvi. Veer, at this point of time, don't you reckon somewhere down the line, it's good that senior journalists are making their allegiance known, stepping out of the field of journalism and, not masquerading while they are supposed to present a point of view and then are aligned with a political party?
I think using the term journalist is a catch-all term. There are people who report the news and they're certainly expected to be objective and not have any biases at all. There are also people who write opinion columns, and people read their opinion columns because they know their opinions are coming from a certain perspective. They know what their leanings are, they know what their ideologies are, and they know what principles and values they believe in. So to impose the same rules on opinion commentators as you would on reporters, I think it's a mistake. They're two completely different sets of people with completely different principles and completely different ideologies. As far as Ashuthosh, which is what has set up the whole debate, I'm quite clear on this. He's a citizen of India. He's free to join any political party. He's always been clear about what his admiration for Anna Hazare and all of those people were. He's never pretended to be anything else. So I don't see what the fuss is about.
Okay, so you don't see a great fuss in this. Thanks, Veer, for speaking to us. Meera Sanyal is also on the phone line with us. She's one of the newest, before Ashuthosh, one of the newest and high-profile persons who's joined the Aam Aadmi Party. Ms. Sanyal, a great deal of buzz over Ashuthosh, inclining towards joining the Aam Aadmi Party at this time. He's reported on them, and now he's going to be part of the movement itself, Kejriwal's team, as it were. What's going on? How do you think? What do you think about that?
Look, I think this reflects, a growing movement. People across the country are really tired and have got very cynical about the existing political establishment. And yet there is a very deep desire amongst people, amongst citizens, to engage constructively in the process. I think Ashuthosh is a very, very fine journalist, very good media commentator, and I'm very excited that he's thinking of doing this. I think people from across the country, that whole sense that politics is a dirty business has to change if our country is progressing. And it will only change if people with ideas and integrity join the mainstream political process. So I'm delighted that Ashuthosh is joining. And I look forward to actually a lot more like-minded people joining. Whether you join the Congress, BJP or the AAP, it really doesn't matter. But join and participate constructively, I think, is the message.
Meera Sanyal, thanks for speaking to Headlines today. I'd like to leave the last word with Rahul Kanwal since he's reported on this story itself. Rahul, what plans for Ashuthosh? Are we likely to see him as a contender in the Lok Sabha elections? Is he going to fight?
Most definitely. The East Delhi seat is one of the seats that's being looked at very closely for Ashuthosh to contest. In private conversations, he's been talking about how part of the purpose of joining politics is actually to fight an election. One of the wild ideas he's contemplating also is to challenge Narendra Modi to come down to Varanasi and contest against him. He wants, because he's been an opponent of Narendra Modi, he thinks that's a battle that he can look at. But East Delhi is what's being looked at more seriously. They've had lengthy deliberations, him and Kejriwal. It's very likely that tomorrow when there is a press conference, Ashuthosh will be inducted in the top decision-making body of the Aam Aadmi Party. This is something that the Aam Aadmi Party has been looking forward to and trying to achieve for a long time. They've been in touch with several other journalists, some of whom might decide to join AAP. But the reality is this is a big face. They've got ammunition coming into their arsenal, and Ashuthosh and the Aam Aadmi Party are both quite excited about this.
Would appreciate you joining us, Editor-at-Large Rahul Kanwal, Shiv Vishwanath. Thank you there. Of course, we will keep tracking the story very, very closely right here on India Reports. Moving on.